conversations where we met every other week for the summer. And beyond that, she talked about her identity and what it's like to be Filipino or not feeling Filipino enough, having been raised in a place that's not very diverse. Through our mentorship, because of those conversations, she then felt after college, what can she do to be closer to the Philippines? She has always been a climate change advocate. She then went on to work for the EPA, but because of the current administration that did away with the EPA, she then, decided why not move to the Philippines? And through our conversations and through PhilPro and the mentorship, decided to do so because she has family in La Union, and come to realize she ran for Miss Universe Philippines and now is a representative of the Philippines. Next slide. As I spoke about earlier, our legacy projects, these are some of our notable projects. So the Kawayan Collective, that is a bamboo architecture firm started by Ray Villanueva. He was an architect in Seattle. Because of the immersion program and how profound of an impact it had on him, he moved his family to Dumaguete and started the firm. And this is almost 10 years later now, he is expanding to North America. So he left North America to start the organization, and now he's waiting for his first container to arrive in North America next month by September. Ligtas Bata is started by Joyce King. It's a child safety and protection advocacy that basically helps raise money for survivors of human trafficking in the Philippines. Nurse and Scene is by my batchmate, Michelle Josue. She's an Emmy Award winner. It's the documentary about nurses and the impacts that it had on nurses across the country and across the globe during the pandemic. Sweet Mango Therapy is by Christine Melendrez. It is a therapy firm started by a Filipina, and she also did, I don't know if GMA is still here, but she did a mental health summit in San Francisco, partnered with GMA, and that was live streamed to the Philippines. CFAM is a Council of Young Filipinos in Medicine. That is a joint legacy project by multiple PhilPro alumni. And so is Tayo Help Desk, is basically addresses misinformation and disinformation during the pandemic and has now since about to graduate to be its own nonprofit. Next slide. I wanted to share a little bit about my legacy project. My background in politics and government, I decided, how do I build bridges and maximize that? So I brought 5 assembly members, this was last year, with 15 other policy advocates to the Philippines. And I know that Project Pearls, Melissa is still here. Project Pearls is here. Part of our delegation, we brought the delegation to Project Pearls, which you guys might be familiar, is in Tondo. And because they saw the impact in person, when we came back to the United States, we actually raised $1 million pesos towards the programs of Project Pros, which does feeding programs. They have a clinic, and they also do scholarships so that the children of Tondo can get their education and leave Tondo and be able to have different careers and escape poverty. For me, it was really important to bring these particular California Assembly members because they represent Filipino dense populations of California and have a stronger affinity to Filipinos. And so when there is an ask from the community, then they have more of a chance to say yes to us. Next slide. I call this the Kingmaker slide. This is just a snapshot. It doesn't tell the whole story of our alumni. We have about 130 alumni throughout the last 11 batches. You have Jet Tolentino, who is a Tony Award winner and Broadway producer. I believe he also has a Grammy. Michelle Josue, who I mentioned earlier. Assemblymember Stephen Raga, who's actually running for state senate in New York. Tyler Dos Santos Tam, who you guys met earlier from Hawaii, from Honolulu City Council. Jessica Colosa is the first Filipina to be the Assemblywoman of California. Tony De La Rosa, who is a speaker and educator. EJR David, who's a professor and author. And Nicole Penseca, who some of you guys might know is an author and a chef. Next slide. So as I mentioned, We cultivated a relationship with Canada over the last 2 years and recently executed an MOU with the Philippine Embassy in Ottawa with Ambassador J.V. Chan Gonzaga, who's formerly with the Office of American Affairs. And this is a picture of where we have, relationships across the globe because of our relationships within the last 20 years through the Department of Foreign Affairs. And so I'm really excited to be here and to engage with other diaspora leaders or diasporae leaders because I really see PhilPro being able to expand and replicate what we're doing in other parts of the world. Next slide. So again, going back to what do we have in common, in terms of Apple the app, right? We were able to use a PhilPro network to elevate his impact program. He's currently focused on a carbon project around coconut trees. And through our network and working with the Department of Foreign Affairs, we're connected to the Philippine Permanent Mission to United Nations. And just a few weeks ago, we're able to speak and present to the United Nations. And then the middle is actually my batch 9 so fine, and Constancio is here from my batch. That is us with our farmers, with the Ayala Foundation International. And then you see myself with Bea. So what does this mean, and what does PhilPro look like? I stand before some of my mentors in the room. I want to call out Ambassador Jun Painor, who's here. Also, Tita Sonia, Mona Lisa Yochenko, Tita Maria Banatao. So when you look at Bea, right, and you look at the Impact Fellows or the Tayo Fellows, you should see yourself in there, because if it wasn't for you guys and how you have cared and nurtured me, I wouldn't be up here and be with PhilPro to be able to nurture the next generation. And so I look forward to having more conversations with you during our panel. Thank you.
Excellent discussion. And what's quite interesting is that despite the diversity of the programs and initiatives, if you look at what AFCS is doing and what PhilPro is doing, there are two things that's standing out to me. Is that leadership development program is similarly a core to both organizations, and of course the immersion programs. I think we will get to talk more about this later in the discussion. Now to talk about one of the finest institutions and programs in the Philippines, the Fulbright Commission, we have our third panelist, Mr. Julio Amador.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I was just checking if you're awake, no? And in some cases, if you're still alive. I'm really happy to join. And I would like to thank the CFO, which is a steadfast partner of the Fulbright Commission, for inviting me. Actually, we have a hostage situation because today is the pre-departure orientation of the Fulbright program. Secretary Clegg said, we will send someone to do the orientation if you come to the CFO summit. So I was like, okay. So my one of the CFO team is in my office now conducting a briefing, which allows us to be part of this journey of orienting our Filipinos to go to the US. So I'm here. So thank you for the invitation, nonetheless, to share our story at Fulbright. Every year, we receive about 20 Americans. 1/3 of that to 1/2 would be Filipino Americans, from senior professors or professionals to recently graduate and even undergrad US student. They arrive in the Philippines for the first time. They are experiencing the country their parents or grandparents left behind. And for us in the Fulbright Commission, this is what diaspora engagement looks like in practice. Not a remittance, not a policy, but a person crossing oceans to be here. Now, we take pride at the Philippine American Educational Foundation for being the oldest continuing Fulbright Commission in the world. We recently celebrated 78 years of our existence. and we administer the Fulbright program and the various other U.S.-Philippine educational exchange programs. For us, our Filipino-American scholars are part of the diaspora bridge. They are our key constituency in the U.S. Filipino Americans and members of the broader Filipino diaspora who come to the Philippines as Fulbright scholars come here to conduct research, teach, and build ties. These are young professionals, and some are senior scholars with Filipino heritage who may have never lived here. Thus, the Fulbright program becomes their first structured long-term immersion. And we encourage them actually to be connected to host institutions outside of Metro Manila. We send them to Northern Luzon, the Visayas, and certain parts of Mindanao. So educational exchange, which is what we do at Fulbright, is crucial to identity formation of our U.S. diaspora. For second and third generation Filipinos abroad, identity can feel inherited, but abstract. Thus, academic immersion in the Philippines makes it lived and personal. How many stories have I heard of these young Filipinos or even some senior Phil-Ams who come here and say, I was able to see the park where my grandfather used to woo my grandmother. These are the stories we love to hear. But we also hear stories of how they became part of their communities in the Philippines, to do their research, to do their medical missions, to teach, to mentor, and so on. Phil-Am scholars return home to the U.S., change, not just professionally, but also relationally. They become ambassadors in both directions. This is how you grow the next generation of diaspora leaders, not by telling them to care about the Philippines, but by giving them that experience that makes them want to care for these Philippines. Because honestly, if they just see it through the news, no, mahirap mahalin ang bansang ito, di ba? But we want them to love this country through the immersion in the local communities which they live in. So what do we ask of you here? Whether you are from a university, a nonprofit NGO, or even government agencies, we can do more to receive and absorb diaspora, particularly the youth who come through programs like Fulbright. We should create structured pathways so that these scholars don't just visit. We want them to contribute, to collaborate, and more importantly, to come back. So if your organization is open to hosting a Fulbright scholar or partnering with us to increase more opportunities for our diaspora, we want to connect with you. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to your questions.
We're just continuing a Fulbright program across the world, and it got me thinking that despite the ubiquity of communication options and digital technologies, it feels like nothing can still replace people-to-people exchanges and immersion to be here in developing that care and emotional relationship with the country. And here with us to continue our conversations from the Youth Connect Cooperative, we have JV Marasigan Pangan.
Magandang hapon po. Good afternoon. Maya pa katpanapon po kay kayongan para sa mga Kapampangan. Hello, Secretary Ang. And I'd like to say hi to Tita Maricel Rojas and also former Ambassador Grace. So I was thinking about what to share today and where to start. And I realized that the easiest way to do this is to probably tell the story of how I got here on the first place. So I spent most of my adult life in the Philippines, here. Then in my 20s, I left the country for the very first time. And in every place, I learned new words. Not the language themselves, but new words. In Hiroshima, where I lived for almost 4 years, yeah, there, I worked as a teacher and volunteered at a peace organization called Ant Hiroshima and a Nobel winner, ICANN. I learned the word hibakusha. Can you hear you say it? Hibakusha. Yeah, I heard someone lived in Japan here as well. It means survivor of atomic bombing. So I spent time with hibakusha and their relatives and young people working on peace and nuclear disarmament. What stayed with me was seeing young people advocate for a cause they did not personally experience. They chose to continue the work of previous generations because they believe that the issues we care about today rarely begin or end with us. And then I moved to Denmark to pursue my master's in journalism under the Erasmus Mundus program. There I encountered the word samfundssind. Could we go to the next slide? Can you say it? Samfundssind. It's not there yet. There it is. Roughly, it means thinking about the common good before yourself. And then during my internship in Germany and eventually in Austria, while organizing the Youth Changemakers Forum at the United Nations with the great help of my Tita Marisol Rojas, I relearned the sociological terms I first heard in my university. Can you say it? Gemeinschaft. Gesellschaft. There you go. Gemeinschaft is about shared values, community, and deep personal ties, while Gesellschaft is impersonal, formal, transactional. Hope we could explore these later. And then for the second half of my master's, I moved to Prague in the Czech Republic and learned the word, this is the most difficult one, pratele. Can you say it? Pratele. It's not R, it's like which means friends. And in The Hague and Italy, in The Hague, Netherlands, and in the Vatican and Italy, during my coverage as a stringer and correspondent for GMA News, of all places, there I came to appreciate the concept of kapwa more deeply, which is at the heart of the diaspora engagement. So everywhere in Europe, I met Filipinos and also second-generation Filipinos and also third-generation Filipinos. Some spoke Filipinos or Kapampangan like me. Some couldn't at all. Some had never set foot in the Philippines. And some are still figuring out what being Filipino means to them. Many young people in the diaspora actively renegotiate their identity. And it's a process that entails maybe not just years, but decades. I mean, aren't we all figuring out what it means to be Filipino? So that's why when we talk about engaging Filipino youth and the young diaspora, I don't think the question is how to attract them. I think the question is, what spaces are we creating for them? Are we creating spaces where they can meaningfully contribute? Or are we simply inviting them into spaces that were designed without them? Through my work with the European Network of Filipino Diaspora, NFID, Youth Connect Cooperative, and GMA News, I've seen that when young Filipinos are given meaningful opportunities, they show up and they deliver because they genuinely want to make a change. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, JB. And he's already raising difficult questions for us, right? What it means to actually not just engage the young diaspora, but make them central and make our spaces encouraging and participatory for the young diaspora themselves. And our last panelist, going back to the Philippines, is the chairperson of the National Youth Commission, USEC, Joseph Francisco Ortega.
Good afternoon, everyone, just to make sure. I just want to introduce myself. I am Jeff Ortega. I'm from the province of La Union. Can I just ask, is there anyone here from the Ilocos region? Ilocos or Pangasinan region, can you see? Oh, just a few. Ah, thank you. So actually, Bea is new to our community, and I can attest to that, ma'am, that she has been hardworking and she's been doing everything, and she's representing us really well. So I just want to share it to you how I got here in the National Youth Commission, what the National Youth Commission is, and why are we here today. First and foremost, to our Secretary Klink, and thank you, sir, for having me here. This is the first time actually that the National Youth Commission is kind of enjoying with the CFO. Earlier, I think I committed verbally that perhaps within this year, SecAng, we should have a memorandum of agreement signing after this. So just like to share a bit about myself. I am a surfer from the province of La Union. So who surfs here? Yeah, there you go. So, and of course, from Hawaii as well. So I started my career in tourism. I put up a surf school. I worked with Australia, actually. I was accredited by the Associate Academy of Surfing Instructors from Australia. And basically, my passion was around tourism and business. And when I was working with my community on the ground, I realized that, you know, these community members, if you really don't experience life with them in the grassroots, you really wouldn't know what they need. And with that, you know, I would like to unfortunately share that my family has been in politics for a while, and I tried to get away from it. But, you know, I just saw the silver lining to it, and I felt that, okay, maybe we can do a bit more to help our community. And so I tried it out, and I applied for being a regional director of the Department of Tourism. So I was assigned first in Calabarzon, which is the second largest region in the Philippines. I was able to cater to the provinces of Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, Rizal, and Quezon. So after that, I was moved to the Ilocos and Pangasinan region. It was a bit challenging because Pangasinan is a very, very big province. And afterwards, in the time of the appointment of President Marcos, I was pulled into the National Youth Commission. To be honest with you, my knowledge of governance was really anchored on tourism and entrepreneurship. I've dealt with different countries, we've done different partnerships, and I felt that, you know, going to the National Youth Commission was so far out from what I was usually doing. And so many people asked me, what are you going to do there in the National Youth Commission? And, you know, just maybe a year and a half in, about 2 years in, I realized now that with all the politics happening in the country, wow, the youth will comprise 80% of our voting population in 2028. Can I hear an applause for that, please? And why I say that is because lately, to share with you, I've been feeling all the support. Actually, even, I wouldn't say bribes, but encouragement by other officials to latch onto our agency, because now they know that they cannot connect with Gen Z and they need votes. And so now I realize the power of the youth. And I realized the power of the National Youth. And we got appointed. The initial budget of the National Youth Commission was only about 150 million pesos. When we came in, it is now 600 million pesos. And the reason why I share that with you guys is because I believe that in government, we can do more. And I know that most of you guys here who live abroad also have a deep desire and burning passion to help our country, especially with what's happening now. And you know, I always say in my speeches around, is why I'm here today in front of all of you, is to actually try to convince all of you to unite your efforts and try to focus on the youth. Because if you don't think that the traditionalists now sitting down don't have a chance of changing, with the youth, you still have a chance. And I always say this to, especially the people, the more experienced people that I speak to, is that investment in the youth is an investment in your retirement. I've been taking care of my parents. They're 80 years old now, and I'm 36 years old. And I was so lucky that they have been taking care of me. But now it's the time of, I think, the period in our life where we have to take care of our parents. And so to everyone leading us now, the leaders who are, again, I don't like to say senior, but more experienced, we need your guidance and we need your support. And at least here in the National Youth Commission, we are the only agency that is spearheading all policy-related concerns. If you want to pass a law with regards to the youth, you go to us. If you want to come up with a program for the youth, you go to us. I've seen most of your programs. There's so many things we can partner on. So I hope that this won't be the last. I would love to entertain your questions. I'd love to talk to all of you more. But for now, I would just like to introduce myself. And I would just like to say that the National Youth Commission, if you haven't heard of it yet, it's under the Office of the President. We are more than happy to be willing to partner with all of you to make your dreams be realized. And I just wanted to share, as closing, that I had the opportunity to meet the Luzon chapter of our CBCP chapter for OFWs. And I was charmed, I would say, to allocate a budget of 1 million pesos next year to hold the first OFW Youth Consortium, where we can align all the needs of our OFW youth so that we can put more budget into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And sounds like the good undersecretary is ready to raise funds for your programs here. But we've learned not just about the programs currently of the NYC, but more importantly, the commitment to further engage the young diaspora. At this point of the panel discussion, we'll be asking our panelists to weigh in on some questions. I think I'd like to start with a question that's a bit more personal. I think all discussions of the diaspora somehow all starts with something personal, right? I want to get to know more about how you actually got into the work that you're doing now, especially, for example, AFCS and PhilPro are they've been in existence for some time. For some time now, right? I've heard Genevieve talk about the torch being passed to her, and that, I could imagine that that's a very important conversation to have as well on how to keep our young diaspora engaged. Yeah. Anyone would like to get into this question? Okay.
I'll go ahead and start first. My first, I think, experience with community organizing and mobilizing is actually through the community that helped raise me and my family. My father was the first to come to America as an engineer. I'm the first American born on both sides of the family. Because we didn't have family, we relied on the alumni associations and the church. And so we would gather together all the time. And my parents made us, they volunteered us to volunteer at these functions and these events. And I would see my dad dial $4 for the Santa Cruzan fundraiser, right? Or for your alumni association gala. And so that's how I saw the way to support the community, because it's that, again, utang na loob, to give back to the people that helped you and helped my family establish themselves in America. And so I was able to take that into, college. We advocated for Filipino World War II veterans, and I came across people through social networks. And to me, engaging the diaspora or engaging in the community through mobilizing an organization is 3 steps. It's social, educational, and then actionable / political, right? So social, we get together at different events. You educate those same people around a particular issue, and then you capture folks that I kind of recruit that want to take the next step and take action or be political. And I wanted to give a shout out to one of my mentors, Ate Vida, who's here, the former senior advisor to the Clinton administration, that also helped open doors for me to be able to be in rooms across the country and be at the table where we're steering influence around policy and around protections and advocate for Filipinos.
For me, it was through my mother. She's a Filipina. My parents, my father Romanian, they migrated to Australia in the 80s and 90s. And so for us, we didn't have any immediate family in Australia. It was very much the community titas and titos that were looking after us and going to community events. That's how I learned Filipino culture in Australia. And from there, when it came to volunteering, it was really just helping out that is really as simple as it was. It was helping out at the community barbecue, helping out, raise some funds by handing out flyers, things like that. And then in my university days, I did my placement. It's a volunteer placement required for the university degree, and I was given a project. It was just a community crafts projects for the seniors, and I was given a budget. I had that autonomy, and I had that opportunity to create. And from there, I created this program and delivered it to the seniors. And when I saw the reaction from the seniors, how meaningful it was, the time I took with them, and what activities we were doing, and how appreciative they were, I said, I need to stay here. I want to do more here. And from there, our organization, Australian Filipino Community Services, has expanded into more activities, more services, and I get to create from a service development point of view. And I'm so thankful that we receive a lot of government funding and support. It's great that the Australian government really is hearing the Filipino community in Victoria in particular, especially during the pandemic. And so for me, my creative outlet is to create meaningful projects and services that support the Filipino diaspora in Australia and Victoria, and generate real meaningful social impact.
Thank you. Anyone from our gentleman? Or okay.
My engagement started with Project Kaluguran. So for those who are Kapampangan here, Kaluguran has two meanings, friendship and love. So my best friend and I, she's somewhere here, Dr. Elise Magbag, we co-founded a community organization in Mabalacat, Pampanga. So we used to teach Aita students in an upland Aita community in Pampanga every month. So we would go up every month to teach them culturally responsive lessons. And then also connect them with organizations, for example, who would like to donate clothes or canned goods and stuff. But then we realized dole out is no longer enough. It's not the way to go. So there should be something more than just giving. So we decided, like, why don't we, empower them with education? And that's why actually we were one of the 20 national finalists at 10 accomplished youth organizations back in 2017. 10 years later, we are sending scholars to universities. 2 of them are graduating next year, and we have 4 senior high school students. So that's my first encounter, and 10 years on, we're still doing it.
Yeah. When in the past years, when we reviewed the applications for the Fulbright US programs, we saw an increase in the Philams who wanted to study here. And of course, the first thing we're looking at is what are they really going to contribute to the communities that they're going to be placed in? And that's a big part of the process. But at the same time, when you sift through the documents as they submit, one of the biggest things that they always raise is that they want to connect. They want to go to the places where their parents went, where their grandparents were born, and so on. So you can feel a desire to be reconnected to the Philippines. And sometimes you wonder why. But for us, we encourage this because this is precisely what we wanted to see. That a lot of our Filipino American colleagues would consider coming back home and really immerse themselves in the local communities that they want to serve in.
Right. We do have the saying that it takes two to tango, right? I think I'm going back to Julio, and I want to understand when we speak of the diaspora, young people wanting to have a connection here, right? Applying to the Fulbright. Do you also see the same motivation among organization, among our institutions here? Is it hard to find partners to say we want to host them here, we want to feel connected to young Filipinos overseas as well, right? Is that a challenge? And I think Jeff can also speak to this, right? What do our local institutions here are feeling about this, right? Do they want to engage and be connected with the diaspora?
That's a good question because one thing that we've noticed is that a lot of our diaspora would be reaching out to us directly. And requesting that we connect them because apparently Filipinos don't like to answer emails. No? So like, they reach out to this university, sabi nila, ginos na lang kami. So I do hope that our universities, our government agencies, our NGOs, first, please check your emails. No? Second, please check your spam mails because the emails will have ended there. But more importantly, even if the answer is no, please take the time to respond. Because a lot of the disappointment that some of these diaspora feel is the lack of response. Not even the no. No, it's just the fact that they were ignored or they were sent to spam.
Is that scene zoned? Is that
Well, actually, it's better if they were seen zone, right? But sometimes nobody checks their emails at all. So I think that's the most difficult part for them because the email would be their first connection to a Filipino organization. So I would say that yes, they do find it hard. Like if they want to intern, they want to immerse, they want to connect with a certain university, they don't know how. Because in the first place, they don't know where to send their inquiries.
quite an easy thing to do? Let's please check our emails and be responsive. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, from the side of the National Youth Commission, we are actually the agency that handles all of that. So if there are companies or NGOs or countries that would like to partner, we are open to it. Several projects that we have so far is with Japan. So we have what you call the Genesis program and the SEAP. So SEAP is like this trip for Southeast Asian youth for Japan, where we have 16 delegates from the Philippines, one from each region, and they ride this ship. It's called Nippon Maru, and they pick up other ASEAN members in other ASEAN states, and they go to Japan, and for like a welfare trip, and they come back after 30 days to the Philippines. And prior to this, they are given training. They are given like suits, like Filipino brand of service trainings, all these items, and that's funded by the National Youth Commission. And so far, recently, I reviewed the work and financial plan of the National Youth Commission. There have been lacking partnerships actually with other countries. So, my partner is actually Australian, and I don't know why I don't have a partnership with Australia yet. So I think this would be a good time to work on it, and to see if we can have an exchange program with other countries. Another opportunity here is I've been trying to help out Mindanao. May I ask who's from Mindanao here? From Mindanao. So, there's this notion in the Philippines that it's always Imperial Manila that succeeds. So, there's a lot of culture that you will see in Visayas and Mindanao. So, we have been working on coming up with an exchange trip called BIMP Iaga. That's Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. So, as we're doing it with Japan and ASEAN, we're trying to do it with BIMP Iaga as well. So, we're trying to see what partnerships we could work with. I mean, I'm sure you guys have your own companies. We'd be happy to receive all of you. Thank you.
If I wear the hat of a of a diaspora leader, wouldn't I find it a bit bureaucratic to work with the NYC? What do you say to that kind of impression?
Well, not at all, because the first thing, like as you mentioned, sir, right, we have to make sure that there's communication. And if you really want to get something done in the country, you have to have the support of the government. And the National Youth Commission, we have area offices in all the regions. So if you wanted to do something in the grassroots, we have officers for that as well. So we can hold your hand from day 1 to day 30. And just to share with you, some of the programs that we are planning for the next 3 years will be with ASEAN. So if there are ASEAN country member states here as well, that's something that we are immediately doing this year, because we are the chairman of the ASEAN youth ministers this year.
So the promise is that we won't just respond to your emails. We'll be holding your hand as you connect with us here in the Philippines. What's your experience like, Karina, Genevieve, working with organizations here? What's the challenge of like saying we want to be immersed, we want to connect, we want to do these activities? How is that like for you?
Well, the CFO and the team there have been amazing and very responsive. I do agree about the email thing. An opportunity like today is a great opportunity to connect face to face and build those connections and messenger requests. But yes, it took a bit of time, and even engaging other entities in the Philippines. Email is something that we're trained to do in Australia. That's the best way to engage someone. But we do end up finding other ways and finding people who know people to try and tap on their shoulder. But sometimes it is possible and sometimes it's not. And you're right about even just the communication no is really helpful rather than waiting for that email that will never come.
And there's also probably a lesson in here, right? That sometimes these small things matter, right? How do you even just make a communication first, right? And it's probably not email as you've experienced, Genevieve.
Philpro actually has been very lucky in that terms because we were founded by the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. So anytime we need something, then we go through the network of the embassy or the consulates or Department of Foreign Affairs. We had an alumni that was in Japan because her legacy project was around, finding her Lolo, who was lost during World War II, and he was Japanese. And so I just emailed Washington, D.C. They connected us to the embassy in Tokyo, and within a week, she was able to attend there. And so we are lucky to have like the shepherds of the government. And as you mentioned earlier, if you have a partner in government and they will make that connection and endorse you, it'll happen pretty fast.
So
I just want to comment on the email
ahead.
thing. Maybe we should do what CFO did because
Uh-huh.
they messaged me on my email,
uh-huh.
my LinkedIn, my Facebook, and then my Instagram. It's not even my name there. It's lookup PH. Suddenly I have a message there. So we have to explore many channels, like what CFO did.
So we want to recognize the staff, the people of CFO. You have amazing digital skills that you've been able to reach out to JV in different platforms, right? We also hear this talk of like second generation Filipinos, third generation Filipinos. Jeff talked about that in the Philippines, politicians are quite worried that they're not connecting with the Gen Zs, right? Does it matter when is it important that when we talk about the young diaspora that we think of them in such terms, right? That there's a difference between engaging second generation Filipinos, third generation, Gen Zs, millennials. Is that something core or important to the strategies of engaging young Filipinos overseas?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, I think it is very important to adjust your communication approach. If I'm talking with, let's say, Secretary Klink, I definitely will be using more formal language and adjusting how I speak. But if I'm speaking with someone, a millennial, someone that I'm able to chat more casually with, I was just at the CFO yesterday with the team discussing our ULEAD implementation for next year, and the conversation is a bit more relaxed. And because we traveled together in the Philippines in January, we're able to be very chill when we're talking to each other. But it does break through a lot of barriers, and we can get to the point of our conversation and work really well. But I think it's not that it can't be done, but it needs to be considered when engaging different generations.
Do we have more contributions to that? Jeff and then Genevieve. Oh.
I think the way that you address whoever you're talking to is understanding their immigrant journey, right? So we have been engaging again with Canada, and they're younger. They could actually be my children. So they're Gen Z, and you would think because they're Gen Z that we would treat them like Filipino American or American Gen Z, but because the Canadian immigration wave is like a decade later, I can actually relate to them even more. And so it's understanding where they are in their immigration journey to be able to have that relationship and that shared experience. And then you're talking to them from the experience and not necessarily by age.
Sense, Chef?
For National Youth. Thank you. For us in the National Youth Commission, we found out that a lot of youth, especially from millennial to Gen Z, they connect on terms on creativity. So whether that's film, that's social media, all these things, that's something that immediately gets their attention. So for instance, my partner's from the film industry, and lately she's going to have, I don't know if I'm able to say this, but she's going to have a movie with Manny Jacinto. Manny Jacinto is a film artist in the US, and there have been several movies that have shown Filipino Americans. I also know that one of our famous celebrity, Liza Sobrano, is now working there in the US and trying to find opportunity. And I think that really latches on Philippine Americans. I have my sister who lives in the LA as well, so she mentioned to me this, and I think film is really a low-hanging fruit for connecting our generations together.
Cleb, may I also?
Of course.
It just as I was lucky to join one class where one of our Fulbright teachers was teaching. One of our programs is what we call the Foreign Language Teaching Assistant Program. We send Filipinos to the US to teach Tagalog as a foreign language. And did you know, just as a trivia, that it is now one of the largest growing in-demand language in the US? So actually, we send about every year we get requests from about 4 universities. Last year, we were asked to prepare for 8 because 8 universities were now asking for Filipino language teachers. So that's just as a trivia on that. No? So Tagalog as a language is growing in demand, no, in the United States. But I had the opportunity to attend one of these sessions, no? And I noticed that a lot of our Filipino American youth are actually very shy. And we had to draw out, these through several ways. So my first TikTok, I had to dance in front of these young Filipinos. Now you will never see that TikTok because I was threatened by the young Filipinos that they will show it if I
We're
don't.
gonna
Don't
look for-
challenge the staff of CFO. They have good digital skills.
I think that the CFO should really do a lot more of these TikToks. But I think that really shows you that we have to find different ways of connecting with our young diaspora because they have different ways of communicating. A lot of them are digital natives, no? They don't know. So, when it comes to communication, one of them said, Sir July, what does, a PDF with a wet signature mean? Because they said we can only entertain your request if you send us a letter with a wet signature. I was like, because again, some of our organizations here don't accept emails as a formal communication. So I think what CFO is doing, reaching out through LinkedIn messages, Messenger, and other social media apps are actually very useful ways of communicating with our young diaspora.
Right. And speaking of digital platforms, I think at least for me, I see a lot of this popular online creators based overseas, Filipinos based overseas, spending time talking about the Tagalog language, for example, and how you can learn it as an immigrant, as part of the diaspora community. And I did say that nothing replaces face to face, like physical immersion. But how is that central now? How important is that when we speak of engaging young diaspora, that we also pay attention to digital platforms, social media? Because I can imagine, for example, that government offices in the Philippines, they're doing their best, right? But it's another thing to kind of like do TikTok or something else, right? So what's your advice for organizations? Is that how do they engage the young diaspora online?
Well, I think the best way is to go straight to the source and have young people, whether it's on the committee or a working group, to actually hear and ask them directly, how would you like to receive this information? And of course, I think we all know now we need to be innovative, and it's a multifaceted approach. We really need to, even if we just talk about language, traditionally it was you go to language school, you go to Tagalog school, it runs for 10 weeks a term, just like the school term. and it's all day on a Saturday. And so one thing our organization is doing is really turning that on its head and changing it up, bite size, come with your family and your friends. They don't even have to be Filipino, but making it fun and approachable and safe to make mistakes. As you heard in the video, not being able to feel safe when you're learning language can put someone off from a young age. And I'm a living example of that. But when I went on the You Lead program and I had a very safe space to learn Tagalog and practice it in a fun way, and the group would just cheer me on and, really celebrate that. And the communities that we engage, they would celebrate hearing that we've come from Australia and are actually trying to learn the language. And from there, I left the Philippines in January, motivated to learn Tagalog. So there you go.
Should you give us an example? A teaser of what you've learned so far. But you've seen her in the documentary, right? The preview of the documentary. Her experience buying fruit. I think that was in Manila, right? Okay. Anyone else?
Just-
Yes, JV.
I mean, as someone working in the media, it's great that we customize our message and, the way we communicate with young people in the diaspora. But at the same time, I think there should be care in the way we do this, because as my favorite Nigerian author said, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, like, the danger of the single story is not that it's untrue, but that it's incomplete. Every generation and the generation that comes after each one has something to say about the next generation. For example, when I was young, I was told, you're like this and you're like that. And now Gen Zs are accused that they're lazy, they're arrogant, they're entitled. So we always have like preconceived ideas, and this is something that we have to confront as, people working in the diaspora. Like, where do we get our information from? Like, if we get it from Instagram, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of the trend now, like, oh, I'm a halfie, like, I'm not really Filipino, like, I'm like, Filipinos will not have any chance in the pageant platform without us halfies, like that. So those kinds of comments hurt the community, and little thing, and then it suddenly becomes bigger than the good sound that we produced before that. So I think we also have to be careful with the kind of information and where we get our information from, and try to empty our cup every now and then, and not see people as like flat. I don't know. In short stories, like, they're round characters, right?
Right. And that's really a good reminder, JV, because that there needs to be this care in online engagement. Because now I'm thinking of, like, very innocent discussions on Filipino heritage, right? Of like ube or sisig or our beautiful diverse cuisine, right? Becoming subjects of online wars, right? Between Filipinos in the diaspora and here, right? Of you don't really know ube. That's not what ube is, right? It's not supposed to be baked into that kind of thing, right? And then suddenly, rather than an engagement, it becomes disengagement, right? And divisive, right? And I'm sure that we have plenty more to talk about. But do you want to?
I do. I just want to add, the way that PhilPro engages the youth is actually organically and in person. So it's very directly anchored to our alumni across the country and now our partners in Canada. And so we would do a roadshow every year across 8 to 10 major cities, and alumni represent not just PhilPro, but other organizations they're a part of, whether it's, accounting or nursing or different industries. And so they'll pull from their networks and bring people to an event. And then how we follow up with the people in that room depends on who it is, right? I would reach out to people and they wouldn't respond by text message. And I actually look to my 10 nieces and nephews on how to best communicate, because I would think that they're mad at me, but then they'll respond right away on Instagram. So I think it's also understanding the generation in terms of how they want to be communicated with in different platforms, but engaging with them, person to person and following up with them.
Right. And at this point, we're very eager to hear from our audience. Please raise your hands if you have questions. So, okay, we've got several. I think we'll start with the one on the right, and then we'll take turns, right and left. Okay, please.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for a very youthful discussion. I am Bon Dampor. I'm the head of the Remittance and Seafarers Division of RCBC. And I would like to ask, what are the biggest, my first question is, before I say my questions, pala, I also want to just acknowledge that in my previous life, in my previous back, we were also partners with the CFO for the U Lead. So Miss Marie Apatad, if she's here, we were able to sponsor a few of the students from the US immersing with our culture here in the Philippines. So grateful to be a partner of CFO. And now we're also partners with CFO for the PDOS, pre-departure orientation seminars that we are conducting every day. Okay, so for my first question, what are the biggest barriers preventing sustained youth engagement in diaspora organizations, and how can we create programs that remain relevant across generations? Then my second question would be, the theme of this summit emphasizes harnessing Filipino global power. What specific actions can governments, diaspora organizations, and educational institutions take today to ensure that young Filipinos and the young diaspora are not merely future leaders, but active partners in shaping the Philippines' future right now? Thank you.
Yes. Who wants to start? Jeff. Okay.
On the part of the national, thank you for that question. Those are two great questions. Right now, that's exactly what the National Youth Commission is doing. Because, in fact, if you're at the National Youth Commission, it's like you're a small president. You have so many problems. So from health, you have environment, you have agriculture. So in the case of the National Youth Commission, we have 10 pillars of participation, and one of them is active citizenship and global mobility as well. So we need to really unify the efforts for the youth here in the Philippines. We're thankful, for organizations that have been going here, partnering with CFO. But I think there is no united action towards this. And I think one of the things that we have to do is to institutionalize this as well. The National Youth Commission being the policy advocacy of the youth in government, we have the job to round up all your comments and come up with a bill or a law that we will recommend to Congress, the Senate, and the President, so that this can be institutionalized. But again, this has to be in a way where we are all unified. Thank you.
A very quick follow-up, Jeff. There's a question addressed specifically for you from our Zoom participants. Do you have activities, does the NYC have activities in Europe or young Filipinos in Europe?
In Europe, not yet, but I had the chance to meet with the French ambassador, who's outgoing now. I attended their event on youth suffrage. So the European Union and the Embassy of France has been funding youth organizations, organizations that are accredited with the National Youth Commission. And lately, we have been responsive with the European Union. So the end of the month, I'm attending a dinner with all the ambassadors of the European Union so we can explore ideas as to how we can streamline our activities. And I hope we can do the same with Australia and the US. Thank you.
So that question is from Jeffrey Morales. So the answer, I think, is pretty soon there should be something for you in Europe. Okay, go ahead. I think Julio wants to respond.
Yes, just a trivia. No? The United States sends around 400,000 students, 400 to 500,000 every year abroad. Can you guess how many students we get in the Philippines from that 400 to 500,000? 356 as of the latest report. 356 Americans come to the Philippines, no? As opposed to about 800 going to Vietnam, as opposed to about 1,200 going to Indonesia and Thailand. A very, very small fraction of that 400,000 goes to the Philippines. So in response to that, PAEF, the Fulbright Commission, set up the Consortium for Study Abroad in the Philippines in partnership with DOT and CHED and so on. And the idea is that we do want to make the Philippines a destination country for study abroad students from the United States, because a big part of that are actually Philams, now the second or third generations, except that they don't have the avenue to connect with Philippine universities. Again, that email thing, no, with the wet signature on an email, for goodness sake. So we're trying to serve, because we are authorized by both governments to serve as a bridge for our diaspora. And we're hoping to partner with warm universities to accept more Filipino Americans who want to immerse here and go about experiencing what it is to live, for example, in a province, in a provincial SUC, what's the life like in this particular location, and so on. So we do have to make these active bridges happen because there's a demand for it. I've been to several US universities. They were so happy that we already are having these initiatives because they said, we want to get there. It's already difficult to fly to the Philippines. It's a very long way from the East Coast, particularly the US. If we can reduce the bureaucratic constraints that we put up to help them come to the Philippines, we should do so. So if anyone is willing to partner on that, again, happy to talk to you, because 356 is an indictment of the way that we are able to attract our Filipino youth, Filipino American youth who want to come to the Philippines to study here.
Big challenge, but hopefully members of this summit will be able to respond to that demand. Yes.
So to answer the first question around barriers, I would say pressure. Pressure from family is a big barrier and can have long-lasting impacts. So as mentioned about learning language can be a lot of pressure, learning customs and things like that could push away a young person to just embrace the country that they've been born and raised in. That is not the Philippines. And so when we think about even an example, leadership program, when we approached the Victorian government and presented our application for a youth Filipino career development and leadership program, we didn't market it to the young people as a leadership program because they will think, well, I'm not a leader. That's not for me. So our approach was, come, have a try of this. Come help out. Let's put on a music night and bring your friends. And through that, we were able to teach them marketing skills. We were able to teach them networking skills, project management skills, and they were leading in their area. And so we want to, we know leadership or being a leader is something that others appoint you. You generally don't say, well, I'm a leader now. People appoint you as a leader. And likewise, your leadership is reflected by your service and what you do. So that is where we're starting. The second question around collaboration, that is something that AFCS is committed to in engaging the Aussie Filipino youth. And that is part of our commitment to work with the CFO for the U-Lead program and to establish an annual cultural immersion trip. We started this year in January. That was the pilot. But we are already planning for next year in January, hopefully, and for us to be a touch point in Australia for Australian youth. So again, it's breaking down those barriers and creating clearer pathways for youth to come to the Philippines and learn and love the Philippines.
Okay. I'll add to that for both questions. The challenge for PhilPro, it's not that there's a lack of interest to come to the Philippines. It's that we might be the only volunteer organization on this panel. So we're all volunteer organizations. So the board and its alumni, we have our day jobs and we're high performing. And so we're very limited to how much time we could put into this organization. But I'm super proud of what we've been able to develop in the last, 12 years of its, being active. We're now heading into our 15th year next year. So that's a challenge in terms of the time and the energy, but also to sustain it is we have to raise money as a volunteer organization. So we look to partners and grants to sustain us so we could continue to create these very impactful and life-changing experience for the youth so that way they could come back and do these legacy projects. And we talk about sustaining them as leaders and keeping them engaged to give back. Part of the commitment when you sign up to be part of the delegation is you have to join a committee or join the board the next year. So we're building the pipeline of leaders on our board. And then also the selection process, you have to have a legacy project executed within the 3 years that you're done with the immersion program. So you're basically active for 3 to 5 years after the immersion program. So that's the accountability, but it's also selecting people who are really committed to giving back to the Philippines.
Yes, thank you very much. And unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for this panel. I'm sorry to the men and women who would like to ask their questions. Feel free to approach our amazing panelists throughout the rest of the day, like in this summit, right? I'm sure that they'll be happy to reach out to you. And I think that hearing and listening to our leaders, our young leaders of the diaspora, but also our leaders here working for the Filipino youth, I think I am very much convinced that we have a promising, very promising future. Indeed, that the future is young, right? Our future is with the young, both at home and overseas. Please join me in thanking and recognizing our amazing panelists this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Arguelles, Ms. Dutlo, Ms. Opanda, Mr. Amador, and Mr. Pangan for sharing innovative approaches to engaging the next generation of Filipino diaspora leaders. The future of diaspora engagement rests with these young people, and your work ensures they remain connected to their Filipino roots and committed to Philippine development. We now invite Chairperson Dante Clink Ang II and Yusek Arlene Borja to come on stage to present the tokens to the panelists and moderator in recognition of their valuable insights during the panel discussions. The certificate reads, Certificate of Appreciation presented to Mr. Arguelles, Ms. Dutlo, Ms. Opanda, Mr. Amador, and Mr. Pangan, entitled Igniting the Passion, Engaging Filipino Youth and the Young Diaspora at the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit, held on June 16, 2026 at Manila Marriott Hotel, Metro Manila, Philippines. Signed by Secretary Dante Clink Ang II, Chairperson of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas. May we request the moderators and the panelists to go on stage for a photo op. That ends our youth engagement panel discussion. Before we move to our closing session, we have another powerful demonstration of what happens when the passion we've been discussing translates into action. We will now witness the ceremonial signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Commission on Filipinos Overseas and the Filipino Young Leaders Program, PhilPro. May we invite to the signing table Secretary Dante Clink-Ang II, Chairperson, and Undersecretary Maria Arlene S. Borja, Executive Director, representing the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, and Ms. Genevieve Opanda, PhilPro President, the Honorable Tyler Dos Santos Tam, City of Honolulu Council Member, and Mr. Constancio Paranal III, PhilPro Executive Vice President representing the Filipino Young Leaders Program, PhilPro. Given the CFO's aim to champion diaspora engagement, this partnership with PhilPro aims to promote youth-led initiatives that foster leadership and strengthen ties with the Philippines. Through the CFO's Youth Leaders in the Diaspora, You Lead, and PhilPro's immersion programs, NRF youth are encouraged not just to be leaders in their respective fields and communities, but also to be active agents of change and contribute to national development. Let us give a resounding round of applause to Secretary Ang, Undersecretary Borja, Ms. Opanda, the Honorable Dos Santos Tam, and Mr. Paranal for forging this partnership for our youth. This MOU is proof that when we invest in our young people, when we create structures for their leadership and engagement, we are not just securing the future of the Filipino diaspora, we are actually We wait for a while for a photo opportunity. Thank you. Before we move to our closing session, we have another powerful demonstration of what happens when the passion we've been discussing translates into action. We will now witness the ceremonial signing of the memorandum of understanding has already been signed. So now we move on, and as we approach the end of this historic summit, we have a very special moment to deliver a special address on behalf of the Filipino diaspora, representing your collective voice, your commitment to sustained engagement with the Philippines, and your vision for partnership in national development. Please welcome vlogger and content creator, the man behind Becoming Filipino, Mr. Kyle Kulas Jerman.
All right, fantastic. I could say magandang gabigi now, no? Malapit na, malapit. Kanina we had umaga, then it was hapon. Wow, this has been incredible. I actually really struggled the past few weeks thinking about this moment and what I wanted to share. As you may have seen on the program, my special message today was called Becoming Filipino, Choosing the Philippines. Now, that statement, choosing the Philippines, I mean, I get it. I get the importance of that. Just look at right now, today. We all choose to come here together. We chose to connect because of the Philippines, because we care about the Filipino, because we care about being Filipino. And whether it be in a structured talk, or just walking around and making chica on the side, which we have all been doing. I can see that even happening right now. We chose to be here. You guys chose to be here. Maraming salamat, daghan salamat, magsuko, iaman, abogid na sayamat. You know, there are hundreds of ways you can say this in the Philippines, but even I might start getting a nosebleed. Hindi ko gusto magdugo sa ilong. So I'll just say it one more way. Thank you. Thank you for choosing to be here in the Philippines for this. And you know what's funny? What you just heard me say, I never write speeches, huh? I wrote that first page before even coming here. I just knew this was going to be important, and this was going to be something worth thanking everybody for being at. And seriously, like the Canadian guy I just talked to in the back, who's Filipino, about the positives in Canada and the positives here, that was awesome. The guy, the Filipino from Japan who lectures in Tokyo, who just emailed me, so cool interacting with you. Tita Mariela, who we talked to the beginning. I mean, it was fantastic. Genevieve, I mean, obviously my table, Sekang, the Honolulu council member who gave me a shaka during his, I mean, seriously, thank you. This has been very important and very awesome. But here's the thing. As much as I love and appreciate the impact that choosing the Philippines can have, when I think about my life and maybe how I've ended up on this stage today in front of you, I can't stop thinking about something else. More than a decade ago, a friend of mine, he looked at me and he said, Kulas, there is a Filipino everywhere. Now, at the time, didn't really think much of it, but as the days have gone by, that has really hit me in the heart. Because I've realized that's why I'm here. That's what impacted my life in such an overwhelmingly positive way. It was Filipinos and the moments of laughters and smiles those Filipinos shared with me when we were outside of the country. Moments of, hey, let's eat. And the moments of me being like, hey, what the heck is that? Moments of jamming out and singing overseas. Maybe not like the 100 score videoke singing, I'm not at that level. But, singing along, bahala sa score. Moments of patak patak. Man, I'll never forget hanging out with Filipinos in Hong Kong. That's where I was first introduced to the Philippines, was with the Filipino Diaspora in Hong Kong. And what did we do? Hey, Kyle, I was in Kulas then. You want to join us on patak patak? Oh, what's this? Oh, don't worry, we're just going to buy a Nihan the vibe today. Very, very cool. It's amazing now how even outside of the country, those things that I'm talking about, they're happening. Those Filipino things. And I could go on, but truly when I think about it, it was just being open to moments of positive interaction. That was what inspired my learning. That was what inspired my appreciation. And that is what inspired my wonder. I wonder what it is like in the Philippines, as the Filipino diaspora. And I've been here 14 years now, almost my entire young adulthood. Got here when I'm 24, I'm 38 years old now. And what is it like here? Well, I'll be the first to tell you, just like everywhere else in the world, it is not perfect. We have our struggles, some more intense than others. But you know what else we have that you won't find as abundant as anywhere else in the world? Filipinos. Diba? We have Filipinos more than anywhere else right here in the Philippines. Yeah, they are everywhere around the world, but they really are everywhere here. From north to south, island to island, you'll find your fellow kababayans living their lives. And you know what else you'll find? You'll find a lot of beauty and a lot of inspiration. If you go right now to Agusan Marsh, you'll find resilient communities who have adapted their homes to float just so they could live where they feel at home. If you go to Kalinga, I hope you drink coffee because you'll probably find yourself invited for a cup, and it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account, that cup of coffee is free because it's moments of your time, the conversations, that's what Filipinos there value. If you go to Samar, I hope you take a ride on the torpedo boats because you won't just be experiencing a beautiful national park in Samar, you will be experiencing a community of Filipinos who said, no, we are done with illegal logging. It is time to protect our environment. And they do it in such a unique way through torpedo boats. Heck, if I walk down the road right now, we're in Pasay, to a local barangay, I go, hey, Manong, Manaheng, Tita, Tito, Kuya. You wouldn't believe, if you just say any endearing term with a smile here, you wouldn't believe what you can learn about respect and connection. Yes, even here in the sometimes organized chaos of Metro Manila. I've been to 82 provinces. I've driven 150,000 kilometers, immersing myself on a scooter. And do you know what I have never found? A place where you can't feel uplifted, where you can't feel inspired, and where you can't feel the good. That's very, very true. Find a place in this country where you can't find that. Now look, nobody has the right to tell you what to choose. And I would never stand here today saying, you need to choose the Philippines. But I can stand here today with a big smile on my face, slightly emo, feeling proud and feeling grateful that I decided to be open to allowing the beauty of the Philippines to choose me. Because like that person told me a long time ago, Filipinos are everywhere. And I know that means beauty is too. But you have to be open to it. So yeah, again, just want to say thank you for today. Thank you for coming to what was a very important event. Thank you to the Commission of Filipinos Overseas for putting this together, Secretary Ang. And yeah, mabuhay, power on. Ayos.
Thank you very much, Kulas, for your inspiring and very amazing words. And as our way of recognizing your efforts to showcasing what it means to be and become Filipino, the CFO is presenting this certificate of appreciation and token to you. to be led by Chairman Dante Klink Ang II, together with Undersecretary Maria Arlene Borja. We are presenting this token to you. Come to the culmination of our summit, the Oath of Commitments. The oath represents the collective commitments of everyone in this room, the Filipino diaspora, the Philippine government, civil society, and the private sector to work together as strategic partners in advancing the Philippines' development goals. It affirms that diaspora engagement is not a one-time event, but an ongoing partnership built on shared values and concrete action. To lead us in the Oath of Commitments, we invite Secretary Dante Klink Ang II, Chairperson of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas. We also invite all summit delegates to stand and recite the oath of commitments along with Secretary Ang.
I invite everyone to stand up and please raise your right hand and repeat after me. We, the leaders, advocates, and members of the Filipino diaspora community, pledge to the service of our homeland and fellow Filipinos worldwide. We commit ourselves to the following pillars of action: political engagement. We vow to use our global presence to champion the rights of Filipinos and influence policies that promote national interests of the Philippines in the international arena. Economic engagement. We commit to moving beyond remittances by fostering strategic investments, supporting local entrepreneurship, and transferring technology and expertise toward economic growth in the Philippines. Cultural engagement. We pledge to act as cultural ambassadors, preserving our heritage and promoting Filipino identity and values to ensure that the Philippine beauty is recognized and respected globally. Engaging the youth. We dedicate ourselves to mentoring the young Filipino diaspora and creating bridges that reconnect them to their roots in support of the nation-building process. As non-resident Filipinos, NRFs, we stand united as a global force, dedicated to the progress, dignity, and future of the Filipino people. We will continue transforming the world dahil kami ay may dugong Pinoy. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Ang and all summit delegates for taking this solemn oath. Let us give a round of applause for his historic commitment to sustain partnership between the non-resident Filipinos and the Philippines. We invite everyone to sign our oath of commitments here in front. Secretary Dante Clink Ang II will lead in signing. But wait, we are not finished yet. As a surprise and testament to today's fruitful discussions, we are happy to present the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit Same Day Edit, brought to us by LinkBank.
To our NRFs, thank you for continuing to carry the Filipino spirit wherever life may take. Your achievements are our pride. Your success has shifted global spotlight on our country, and your partnerships ensures our nation's story remains one of collective growth and enduring unity.
Policy influence does not begin or end in government offices. It happens when we organize our communities, we participate in civic life, we mentor our young leaders, we support one another, and engage in conversations that drive meaningful and lasting change.
We Filipinos are not alone in the challenges that we face. We need to work together, not at cross purposes, not work against each other, because when one group succeeds, all of us are able to succeed, and we need to keep that very close to our hearts.
Our greatest asset is the professional capital of individual Euro-Filipinos who excel in their host countries while staying deeply committed to their roots.
The pundits, political pundits, said he cannot win because he's Filipino. Hello, I won. And then they said he won because he was Filipino. Leadership is not only for politicians. Leadership is for migrants who believe their voice matters. So to every Filipino migrant here today, I say this: your accent does not disqualify you. Your story is not a weakness.
For decades, overseas Filipinos have helped power the Philippine economy through remittances, but the future asks more of us. It calls on us to transform that support into investment, entrepreneurship, leadership, and sustainable development.
The Filipino diaspora builds more than balances. It builds communities. It builds institutions. It builds leaders. And it builds belonging. Together, we are stronger as a community.
The Filipino diaspora is one of the nation's greatest strategic assets, not simply because of what we send home, but because of what we can help create.
Every peso you earn abroad represents sacrifice, which is time away from family, missed milestones, hard work, and perseverance. And protecting and growing that money is just as important as earning it.
I don't invest money, I invest knowledge. I train people so that someday they will be a good citizen.
If you want sustainable cultural preservation and educational diplomacy, we must move away from a model of labor extraction to stakeholder retention.
What we learned in school, na pag-aralan natin na mahalin ang Pilipinas, mahalin ang kapwa Pilipino, and that's what we have to do every day.
To ensure that the Filipino culture remains accessible, relevant, and meaningful for overseas Filipinos.
Let's change this for the next summit, shall we? Let's make sure our young people are part of the conversation because they are too in part of the Filipino diaspora.
This is how you grow the next generation of diaspora leaders, not by telling them to care about the Philippines, but by giving them that experience that makes them want to care for these Philippines.
I've seen that when young Filipinos are given meaningful opportunities, they show up and they deliver because they genuinely want to make a change.
We are more than happy to be willing to partner with all of you to make your dreams be realized.
Together, let us redefine the boundaries of our nation's potential and harness the collective power of our global community to secure a brighter future for every Filipino.
Tomorrow is day 2 of our summit. We are featuring optional activities, especially for our non-resident Filipinos who wish to extend their engagement. We have a heritage tour and business-to-business matchmaking session in the morning and cultural show and fellowship in the afternoon. For the heritage tour, participants are advised to assemble at the Manila City Hall quadrangle from 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. The tour will take us through Manila Clock Tower, National Museum of Fine Arts, and Centro de Turismo. Please be in your smart casual attire. For the business-to-business matchmaking, our venue is at the Social Hall of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, National Headquarters in Ermita, Manila City. Registration starts at 8:30 a.m. The program begins at 9 a.m. Our cultural show in the afternoon will take place at the auditorium of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, National Headquarters in Ermita, Manila City. Please be there by 1:30 to witness the performance of the renowned dance group Sindao Philippines. This is open to all summit participants. A fellowship follows after at the Social Hall of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, National Headquarters. We request everyone joining our Day 2 activities to wear their summit IDs for proper identification. We hope to see you again tomorrow. Before we part, we invite everyone again to come to the center front of the stage for a photo opportunity. Our photographers will take a group shot, so let's gather closely and fill the space. Once again, before we part, we invite everyone again to come to the center of the stage for a photo op. Our photographers will take a group photo, so let's gather closely and fill the space.
Minsa'y natuwa ang may likha, 7,000 pulo ang ginawa. Mga hiyas na inilatag sa malasot lang dagat.
Once again, everyone is encouraged to join us at center stage for photo opportunity. Thank you, everyone. The official summit photos will be available in the coming days. Kindly check our gallery in the summit microsite at summit.cfo.gov.ph/gallery. You may also post photos and videos on social media. Please use our official hashtag 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit. We also would like to hear your thoughts about today's summit. Share them with us by filling out our feedback form at summit.cfo.gov.ph/feedback4. That caps the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit. To our diaspora delegates who traveled from across the globe, thank you for your presence, stories, contributions, and commitment to Philippine development. You have shown us today that the Filipino diaspora is a powerful force for transformation. To our local stakeholders, government partners, and private sector representatives, thank you for recognizing the Filipino diaspora as strategic partners in development. The conversations we had today are just the beginning. Mag-ingat po ang lahat. Mabuhay ang Filipino diaspora. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Piliin mo rin ang Pilipinas, kapulo ang kwintas ng pelas. Piliin mo, yakapin mo, kayamanan niyang likas. Piliin mo ang Pilipinas.
We invite our Summit Secretariat, the people behind the successful conduct of the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit, please come up the stage for a photo opportunity.
Kapulo ang kwintas ng pelas. Piliin mo, yakapin mo, kayamanan niyang likas. Piliin mo ang At ang ngiti ng may kapal, taglay ng bawat nilalang. May
magsayawan hanggang mag-umaga. Di na kailangan ng magpaganda at pumorma kung nagsasayaw ka. Baliwala